Cedric the entertainer had watched 1,000 comedians work a room. He'd headlined for kings and closed for legends and stood in more wings than he could count. But when people ask him, and after all these years people still ask him, about the greatest thing he ever saw another comic do on a stage, he doesn't name a joke. He names a night. Spring of 2003, a 1,900-seat hometown theater on Del Mar Boulevard in St. Louis, packed wall to wall for a benefit Cedric himself was hosting. Katt owned that room like nobody I have ever seen, Cedric would say. But that's not the part that gets me. Because the part that gets Cedric, the part he tells slowly, wasn't a punchline at all. It was what a rising young comedian in a sharp little suit did for a 22-year-old kid who had just died the worst death a stage can give you, in front of his own mother. His name was Terrence Dell, Terry to the block. He was 22 years old that spring, and 6 days a week he washed dishes at a diner off Natural Bridge Road, up to his elbows in gray water, running jokes in his head over the clatter of the plates. Everybody at the diner knew Terry was funny. The cooks knew it. The regulars knew it. There was a table of retired men who came in every morning just to hear what Terry would say when their eggs went out cold. His mother, Gwen, knew it best of all. She'd raised him alone in a 2-room apartment on the north side, worked 2 jobs to do it, and she'd spent 22 years laughing at a boy who could do the whole neighborhood in voices. The preacher, the bus driver, the woman downstairs who yelled at pigeons. When Terry was 9, Gwen had told him something he never let go of, that the Lord gave everybody one thing, and Terry's one thing was making a hard room feel lighter. He believed her. When the benefit came to town, an organizer who ate breakfast at that diner did Terry a kindness that felt, at the time, like the door to the rest of his life. 6 minutes, an opening spot on a show Cedric the entertainer was hosting and Katt Williams was on. "You get 6 minutes, kid," the man told him. "Don't waste 'em." Terry didn't sleep for 3 nights. He wrote and rewrote 6 minutes until the pages were soft. And he did the one thing that would make the whole night matter more than any night before it. He bought his mother a ticket. 4th row, aisle seat, so she could see. The Del Mar Palace filled up loud that night. 1,900 people, hometown proud, there to see their own. Cedric was St. Louis to the bone. And the room loved him before he said a word. From the wings, Terry watched it fill and felt his 6 minutes shrink in his hands. Cedric opened the show warm and easy, worked the crowd like a man greeting his own family, and then he did the generous thing that hosts do for the unknown kid at the bottom of the bill. He built Terry up. "We got a local young brother about to start us off," Cedric told 1,900 people. "Straight out of here. Show him some love." The room roared, for a name they'd never heard on the strength of the word local. And Terry Dell walked out into the biggest sound of his entire life, found the light, found the microphone, and found his mother's face in the 4th row, already shining, already proud. He opened his mouth to give her the 6 minutes he'd written. That's the last easy moment he would have for a while. The first joke landed soft. Not a bomb, just soft. A ripple where he'd rehearsed a wave. Terry heard it, and something in his chest tightened, and he rushed the second one to make up for it. The second joke missed clean. Silence. Real silence. The kind with 1,900 people in it, which is the loudest silence there is. Then the third. One string snapped. Then another. Terry felt the room start to slide, and he did the thing every young comic does, and every old comic knows will kill you. He chased it. He sped up. He talked over his own setups. He heard his own voice climb higher and thinner. He heard the little laughs die one at a time, the way lights go out in a building at closing, floor by floor, until there's nothing but the dark. A woman coughed. A chair scraped. Somewhere around the 4th minute, a man near the front called out something short and cruel, and a pocket of the crowd laughed at the heckle instead of the joke. And that laugh, that was the end. Terry's mind went white. He looked out, for one terrible second, at the 4th row, where his mother sat with her hands pressed together, and her proud face breaking into something worse than disappointment. Fear. Fear for her boy. Terry couldn't take that. He mumbled a thank you nobody heard, and he walked off with 2 minutes still on the clock. Past the wings, straight for the back exit in the alley, so no one would see him come apart. Here is where most nights end. The kid bombs, the show rolls on, the machine forgets him by the next act. And the next act was Katt Williams. He went out into a strange, sour room, a 1,900-seat crowd that had just watched a hometown kid die and didn't quite know what to do with the taste of it. A lesser comic would have stepped over the body, would have made the kid the punchline, an easy laugh. The room half wanted it. Katt Williams did not do that. He walked to the microphone in that pressed, sharp suit, and for a moment he just looked toward the wings, toward the alley door that hadn't finished swinging shut. Then he did 11 minutes that Cedric, watching from the side, would spend 20 years describing to people who weren't there. Fast, merciless. He did voices, whole characters, an argument between the St. Louis Heat and the man who invented the necktie. He found the same heckler who'd buried Terry and turned him into a running character, and the crowd that had laughed cruel 3 minutes earlier was suddenly laughing clean. He took that soured room and turned it, laugh by laugh, one table at a time, the way you'd coax a scared animal out from under a porch. 2 minutes in, the sourness was gone. By the 10th minute, 1,900 people were his, all of them, the way a great flood takes a low field, completely, all at once, and there's nothing left dry. From the wings, Cedric leaned to a stagehand and said the thing that would follow Katt the rest of his career. "That's not a comedian," Cedric said. "That's a man who owns rooms." But Katt wasn't done. And what he did next is the reason Cedric tells this story at all. At the top of a laugh, with the whole room finally in his hand, Katt Williams stopped. He held up one finger, wait. And he said, "Hold on. Y'all did my man dirty." The room went quiet, uncertain. "That young brother that opened up? Terry?" Katt had caught the name from the wings. That's the hardest thing in this whole art. Standing up here the first time, cold, in front of everybody you know. I bombed my first 6 minutes worse than that. Difference is, wasn't 1,900 people watching me do it, and my mama wasn't in the 4th row. A murmur moved through the crowd, and in the 4th row, Gwen Dell put her hand to her mouth. Then Katt looked to the wings and did the thing nobody expected. Terry, you back there? Come here, man." A stagehand had caught the kid at the alley door. For a long, aching second, nothing happened. Then Terrence Dell walked back out into the light he'd fled, shaking, wrecked, 22 years old, and Katt Williams put an arm around him and said to 1,900 people, "This the bravest man in the building. Give him what he earned." And the room stood up. Not a polite clap, a roar, the 4th row mother on her feet first, the whole hometown house rising for a dishwasher who'd bombed, because a rising star had shown them how to see him. "That," Cedric said, "is when I understood what I was looking at. Anybody can take a room. That man gave one away, and it made him bigger. I never saw it done before or since." Backstage, after, the machine of the show moved on without them, and Katt Williams took the shaking kid into a quiet corner by the prop tables. He didn't give him a lecture. He gave him about 90 seconds. Terry has spent the rest of his life repeating them. "You didn't bomb," Katt told him. "You survived. There's comics been doing this 15 years, never had the guts to get up there once. You did it in front of your mama. Now you know the worst thing that can happen, and you're still standing. Everything after this is easier." Then he took the show's paper set list off the prop table, the plain photocopied running order with all their names down the side, and on the back, in ballpoint, he wrote a single line and pressed it into Terry's hand. Terry has never told a reporter exactly what the line said. He'll tell you it was 7 words. He'll tell you he still has the card. He won't tell you more than that. Katt Williams went back to the bill, finished his tour of small rooms and big ones, and inside 3 years, his name was on HBO and moving toward arenas 100 times the size of the Del Mar Palace. He almost certainly never thought about that St. Louis night again. He had no idea it had saved anybody. "It's the ones who give it away," Cedric would say, "who never think twice about the giving." The Del Mar Palace is gone now. The marquee came down years back, and the building does something else entirely. But Terrence Dell is not gone, and he is not a dishwasher anymore. He runs a comedy workshop for kids on the north side of St. Louis, in a rec center room with folding chairs and a single stage light he bought used. He's 40-something now, and every new class, the first thing he tells the terrified teenagers in front of him is that they are going to bomb, and that bombing will not kill them, and that the worst night of their lives on stage might be the night somebody decides who they are. Then he shows them the card. It lives in a plastic sleeve pinned to a corkboard by the door, a soft, creased, photocopied set list from spring of 2003, a hometown benefits running order with a row of names down one side, and on the back, 7 words in faded ballpoint that he has never once said out loud to a reporter. He tells them about the diner, too, the gray dishwater, the 6 minutes he wrote until the pages went soft, the exact temperature of the fear when his own hometown watched him drown. And then the part that matters, The part where a man who owed him nothing turned around and pulled him back into the light. Gwen Dell lived long enough to see the workshop open. She used to sit in the fourth row of the little rec center shows. Always the fourth row, always the aisle. The same seat she'd bought at the Del Mar Palace. And watch her son do for terrified kids exactly what a stranger in a sharp suit had once done for him. "You were always funny," she told him once. "But you weren't kind about it until that night. That's the night the boy I raised showed up." People think that night ended my comedy, Terry tells his students. It started it. A man who didn't know my name looked at the worst moment of my life and decided I was worth pulling back into the light. He looks at the card in its plastic sleeve. Everybody wants to own the room. The one who changed my life gave his away for 30 seconds. That's the whole art. He just never knew he'd done it. If this story moved you, take a moment to subscribe and leave a like. It helps these untold stories reach the people who need them. And tell us in the comments, has a stranger ever pulled you back from the worst moment of your life with one small act of kindness? And did you ever get to thank them? We read every one.